Hi friends. Have you ever had those quiet moments where you just sit there, wondering why you feel so drained? Not tired from a long day, not physically sick, but something deeper, like a kind of emptiness or restlessness that you can't quite name. You look around the room, everything seems fine. You've got your routine. Maybe your favorite chair, your morning coffee, your evening scroll through the news. But still, something's off. A lack of spark. A weariness that no nap seems to fix. That's not uncommon, especially for men in our age group, 55 and up. Life shifts. The kids are grown. The job might be slowing down or even gone. And in that space, habits form. Sometimes just to fill the silence. One of those habits for many men is frequent masturbation. Now, there's nothing wrong with taking care of yourself. But when it becomes an escape, a default, a way to fill emotional gaps, it stops helping and starts hurting. And we don't always notice it right away, because it feels familiar, say, immediate. But over time, it can drain more than it gives. It chips away at your motivation, your drive, your connection with the world around you. That's what we're talking about here today. Not shame, not guilt, but the quiet, powerful journey of healing and returning to yourself. Because it is possible. Even if it's been years. Even if you've tried before. And even if you feel like no one really talks about this at your age. So let's talk about it, gently, honestly. This is not a lecture. This is a conversation between you and someone who's walked through similar shadows and found light on the other side. One of the first and most powerful things you can do to start that healing? Begin by reconnecting with your emotions, not analyzing them, not judging them, just noticing them. You see, many of us were raised to be strong, stoic, unshakable. We were told that real men don't cry, don't talk about feelings, don't dwell on weakness. But the truth is that old armor has a price. It cuts us off from others and from ourselves. So what happens if we just pause for a moment and feel? When you find yourself reaching for the same old habit, ask yourself, what am I really feeling right now? Is it boredom? Loneliness? Anxiety? Is it the need to feel wanted? Valued? That small question can be the beginning of a much bigger shift. Because once you know what you're feeling, you can begin to address it. Not by escaping into distraction, but by truly caring for yourself. Sometimes that means taking a walk, not because it burns calories, but because it clears your head. Or calling an old friend, not to fix anything, but just to laugh. Or sitting in silence and allowing yourself to feel sad, without rushing to numb it away. Here's something else that helps. Creating structure in your day. When we're younger, life is packed. School, work, deadlines, responsibilities. But as we get older, that structure loosens. And while freedom is a gift, too much aimlessness can feel like floating. So try this. Start your day with one meaningful ritual. Something simple like a morning stretch or sitting outside for 5 minutes and watching the sun rise. Something that reminds you have purpose. You are choosing how to begin your day, not just reacting to it. That sense of rhythm, it grounds you. It gently tells your body and mind, we're here, we're alive, and we're doing things with care. And over time, those little rituals start to replace the old habits. Not through force, not by denying yourself, but because you're filling your life with things that nourish rather than just numb. So, once we begin tuning into our emotional needs, something interesting starts to shift. The urge to escape, to run to old patterns begins to soften. And in that space, something stronger grows, awareness, peace, even self-respect. And that's when real healing begins to take root. And when that sense of awareness begins to grow, the next shift becomes even more natural. It's the pull to create something meaningful. You see, when we're stuck in repetitive habits, especially the kind that don't truly nourish us, it's often because something inside us feels unused. Some spark that isn't being expressed. Some part of us that feels forgotten or underfed. And that's where this second step becomes so powerful. Begin building something, not for anyone else, not to impress or prove anything, but just because it feeds your spirit. Think about what that could be for you. Maybe it's getting your hands in the soil again. Planting something, watching it grow. Maybe it's picking up that old guitar, even if your fingers feel stiff. Or writing. Not to be published, but just to get your thoughts out on paper and see what's been hiding in your heart. What matters isn't how good you are at it. What matters is that it means something to you. That it gives your day color, shape, and a reason to look forward. When you pour energy into creation instead of consumption, your entire chemistry begins to change. Your brain lights up differently. You start to feel useful again, alive again. And slowly, those moments you used to spend escaping into numb habits start to shift. Not because you're trying to change, but because you want to feel something richer, something real. Here's the thing most people don't tell you: you don't have to completely erase old habits overnight. That kind of thinking sets us up for failure. It's not about flipping a switch. It's about filling your life with so much good, the old habits simply have less room to grow. There's another practical way to support that shift, and it's often overlooked: movement. Not intense workouts or lifting heavy weights, unless that's your thing. I mean simple, rhythmic movement. The kind that brings you back into your body. For example, going on a walk without headphones. Just your feet on the ground, your breath in your chest, your eyes open to the world around you. Or gentle stretching in the morning before anyone else is awake. Let your body move, not for performance but for connection. There's something deeply healing about that. Because for many of us, our bodies became tools. Machines we expected to function on command. And when they started to change, get slower, softer, more fragile, we started to feel betrayed by them. We pulled away, disconnected. But movement, natural, slow, intentional, helps us reconnect. It reminds us that our bodies aren't broken. They're still capable of joy, of strength, of sensuality. They're still part of who we are. And that shift from disconnection to respect, it affects everything. Your mood, your energy, even your desires. You begin to feel more at home in your skin, more at peace with your rhythm, less likely to chase short bursts of relief when you're already rooted in something deeper. All of this starts building a kind of inner strength. Not loud, not showy, but steady. Like a quiet flame that doesn't flicker with every breeze. But maybe you've tried some of these things before and you're thinking, I always end up back in the same place. That's okay. That doesn't mean you've failed. It means you're human. Healing isn't a straight line. It loops, it stumbles, it learns. And every time you come back to yourself, you're stronger for it. What helps in those moments, those days when motivation feels low, when the urge to fall back is strong, is having someone to talk to. Not to fix you, just to listen. A brother, a friend, a support group, or even a therapist. Someone you can be real with, because silence feeds shame. And shame feeds habits that hurt. You don't have to do this alone. You're not meant to. So imagine this. Each day you wake up and do one small thing for your soul. You listen to your emotions instead of pushing them down. You create something no matter how imperfect. You move your body in a way that feels gentle and kind. You reach out to someone who gets it, even just for 5 minutes. That's not weakness. That's wisdom. That's a man reclaiming his rhythm, his spirit, his freedom. And what starts to happen then is something beautiful. You start replacing the cycle of release and regret with something far more powerful: renewal. And from there, a third kind of healing begins to emerge, quiet but real, one that doesn't come from effort but from alignment. And from that alignment, something deeper begins to stir. Not just calm, not just strength, but meaning. A quiet sense of purpose that says, I'm here for more than just getting through the day. That brings us to the final shift. It's not about doing more. It's about being more connected to what actually matters to you. You've already begun to listen to your feelings. You've started building healthy rituals and expressing yourself again. But this last piece is about how you see yourself. The story you tell when no one else is listening. Because if the story in your head still says, I'm too far gone, or this is just who I am now, then the healing will always feel like a battle. But when you start rewriting that story, not perfectly, just honestly, everything begins to change. It's not about pretending everything's fine. It's about saying to yourself, I'm worth the effort. I still have something to give. And I can choose who I become, at any age. You're not just a man who's trying to break a habit. You're someone who's waking up to his own life again. Who's letting go of the noise and rediscovering what it feels like to be fully present. In your body, your emotions, your daily choices. That new self-story might sound simple. Something like, I take care of myself because I matter. I create instead of escape. I'm building a life I respect, one day at a time. You'd be amazed how much that small change in belief affects everything else. Suddenly, your habits begin to shift, not from force, but from alignment. You're not trying to stop something. You're choosing something better. And let's be clear, you're not doing this to impress anyone. You're doing it because deep down, you know your time is still valuable. You know life isn't over at 55. In fact, in many ways, this is the beginning of a richer, deeper season. There's no rush, no perfect formula, no one-size-fits-all, but there is a way forward. A way that's rooted in gentleness, consistency, and self-respect. So here's the invitation. Not a demand, not a challenge, just a quiet, respectful invitation. Try one of these shifts. Just one. Feel what it does for you. And let that be enough for today. Because healing doesn't come from trying to be someone else. It comes from remembering who you are beneath the noise. From making peace with your own heart. From choosing habits that bring you back to life instead of pulling you further away. And the beautiful thing? You're not starting from scratch. You already have wisdom, experience, depth. That's your foundation. You're not broken. You're seasoned. And you're still growing. So, if this conversation stirred something in you, whether it was curiosity, courage, or even a bit of discomfort, hold on to that. It means you're awake. And that's all you need to begin. If you feel like sharing, I'd love to hear your thoughts below. What resonated with you? What part of your story are you ready to rewrite? You're not alone in this. And if this video felt like a helpful companion, like something that spoke to where you're at, go ahead and subscribe. This space is here for you. For your growth, your strength, your journey forward. Here's to living with strength, peace, and purpose, no matter what age you are.